When we're looking at data and we try and tell the story of data, one way to do it is to describe where the middle of the data is. But middle is kind of a relative term. What does it mean to be in the center? There are three measures of center. The first we're going to talk about is called the mode of a sample. It's the element that shows up the most often of times. This is really nice when we're talking about like colors of car. The most common color of car might be red. That's a useful data value because it kind of describes what most people are doing. The median of a sample is the middle element. Of course, first to determine middle, we have to put the numbers in numerical order, and whichever one's in the middle has half the numbers larger and half the numbers smaller. The most common one is called the mean, and that's the total when you add up all the numbers and divide by the sample size. We're going to look at all three of these measures of center and also look at how the cumulative frequency can possibly help make finding those a little bit easier. The cumulative frequency is the result of adding those frequencies as we go down the table. So we've already talked about the number of streaming services. We had that list of numbers 1, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 4, 4, 4, 4, and 7. Now, earlier when we did this in the previous video, these numbers were all mixed up. I put them in order here because it's easier to find the median and the mode when the numbers are in order. So the first step is always to put the numbers in order. And now I can quickly identify the mode, or the one that occurs the most often. We see the number 2 occurs 5 times. And the number 3 occurs 5 times. We actually have a tie for the mode, and that's OK. We can't have a tie. It just means we have multiple modes. So the modes here, the most common number of streaming services is 2 or 3. If I want the median, that's the number that's in the middle. And so since we've got 16 numbers here, the middle is going to have 8 below and 8 above it. So I'll count 8 values, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and put a line there, 8 above and 8 below. Now, sometimes there's a number right in the middle. That number then becomes the median. If there's no number right in the middle, we're going to take the average of the two numbers on either side of it. So we'll add them together and divide by 2. And in this case, that's just going to give us the same number that we started with. So the median, the middle number is 3. Half the numbers are below 3, and half the numbers are above 3. The last one is the mean. The way we find the mean is we add up all the numbers together. 1 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2, and just keep adding up all of these numbers all the way down the line. And when I add those all up on my calculator, I think I'm getting the number 49. After adding them all up, we're going to divide by the number of numbers there are. We said there were 16 numbers, so 49 divided by 16 is 3.0625. What that tells us if we took all these numbers and kind of spaced them out evenly. So 7's got some extra. It loans that to the 1. Everybody spaces out evenly, so everybody has the exact same amount of stuff. That amount of stuff would be 3.0625. That's how we find our mean, median, and mode. But as I said, sometimes the cumulative frequencies can make this easier to solve. So let's take a look at making this information in a table where we can look at the cumulative frequencies. So we made a table earlier with the values of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. We found the frequencies of those values to be 1, 5, 5, 4, 0, 0, and 1. Also going to add a cumulative frequency column. Cumulative frequency means we're going to add up things as we go. So we start with the number 1, and then we've got 5 more things. So now there's a total of 6 by the time we get to 2. Add 5 more things, there's a total of 11. Then add 4, we get 15. Add 0, and finally add 1 to get 16. And we can see how many are at that value or below. Let's look at how this table helps us find our mean, median, and mode. For the mode's going to be the one that occurs the most often. And the frequency tells us how often they each occur. So we see the biggest frequency is 5. That's happening with the numbers 2 and 3. And notice that makes the mode really easy and fast to find because we can just look at the frequencies. If I want to find the median, Now we'll use the fact that we know if we add up the frequencies and the sample size is 16. Half of 16 is 8. So we want to go down the cumulative frequency so that we can find the 8th and 9th value. So that tells us the location is between the 8th and 9th value. And so I look at my table and I see 8th and 9th value happen here at 11. Between 6 and 11, we pass the 8th and 9th value. Those are all 3, so the median must be 3. The mean is also a little bit easier to pull off of a frequency table because all we have to do is, rather than adding all the individual values, we're going to multiply the value by the frequency. So 1 times 1 is 1. 2 times 5 is 10. 3 times 5 is 15. 4 times 4 is 16. 5 times 0 is 0. 6 times 0 is 0. And 7 times 1 is 7. And if I add all of those together, there's fewer numbers to add together, less room to hit the wrong button on your calculator or miss one of the numbers. Add those up and we get 49. So now I can take the 49 and divide by the total frequency, which we found earlier to be 16. And that's going to give me my mean is equal to 3.0625. So if you have a frequency table, we kind of approach it a little bit differently, but I think it actually makes the problem easier to solve. Mean, median, and mode helps us find the center, the middle of the data.